What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zephyr War Games, and today I am bringing you the test and combo video for the dangerous dark worlds I showed you all the other day. Now, as I mentioned in that profile, the dangerous version is one of them ones where you don't want to be dicing with the RNG factor of the dangers, and you actually want to play it a little bit differently and have a bit more control over what is discarded and how it is discarded. So, with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. If you get this video above 50 likes in the first 24 hours, I will of course already bring you the synchro version anyway, but getting this above 50 likes will keep showing me that you want to see more Dark World content. Now obviously I'm not going to try and flood the channel with it like I did last time, but it will mean that I'll try and keep a steady stream to show you all of the different tips and tricks that the deck can produce. The only disclaimer about the deck is that I have added in the second Dark Corridor. I've bumped it up to 42 cards as it was a card that I was able to pick up from the previous version. So with all of that out of the way, after a very decent shuffle and a good old cut, we'll start off with a test hand going first with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, it's not bad, but the issue is you could activate Drag Down if you're really, really scared about a draw. Now, obviously, by doing so, they're 100%, if you had to choose in this one, 100% you're sending the Genta. Like, you're sending Genta from the hand. The one thing of doing that is you get to see if they've got a draw. If they don't have a draw, you don't really care. You discard whatever you want, and then it means your Genta is going to resolve. So that would be the safest play, in my opinion, is activating the Drag Down now, because you've got a very good hand. So you're going to be like, okay, both reveal the hands. If I see this hand, I'm discarding the Genta, because it's like the most useless thing ever. They still got a Genta in the hand, but, you know, at least I get to look at the hand. If they draw a droll off the back of it, and then they go, okay, cool, on resolution, droll, you cry down inside, but I'm going to play it the safest route possible. Oh, nice, we get the Kotal. Okay, that's cool. So we're going to unlock the Chimera version as well, which is really, really cool. I'll actually hold this back. There's no need to use it straight away, in my opinion. Again, unless you're worried about droll, but then they would droll on the resolution. So we're going to activate the Genta. The Genta is, of course, going to search you out Gate of the Dark World. We've got a decent target off the discard, like the second best, in my opinion, and that is, of course, Snow. So we're going to add the Gate. Activate the Gate, we're going to use Gate's effect, we're going to banish the Genta as cost, and we will discard the Snow on resolution. Now, of course, you could have used the Kotal a little bit earlier, like before this, to make sure you don't draw into your target, but it doesn't really matter, you've still got plenty of targets anyway. So we're going to draw, it's not our target, that's good. And then on a new chain, you'll go chain it 1 Snow to protect it from being ashed, and then chain it 2 Genta will come back to the board. So then Snow will resolve, this will allow you to add any Dark World card. It's not a Dark World card. So you can add whatever you want. Now, the one thing that I'm personally think that we're missing is we're missing like Rainbow, because Rainbow is going to allow us to kind of loop a couple of bits of resource, and that's what you'd ideally want in the graveyard. I can get it to the graveyard very easily. You just won't be able to trigger its discard effect, but that's not an issue. We'll be able to sort that out very easily. So, now what you want to do here is you want to use the Kotal's effect. So, by discarding this card, you get to add one monster that mentions Chimera Fusion from your deck to the hand. And your best target is, of course, going to be your Mirror Knight. You're then going to normal summon the Mirror Knight, and you have its ability as a quick effect to attribute this to special summon a monster from the deck that mentions Chimera Fusion except itself. So we're going to be going directly for Gazelle, the King of Mythical Claws. If this is normal or special, you get to add a level 5 Fiend monster or a Chimera Fusion from the deck to the hand. So we're going to go directly for Chimera Fusion. We're going to activate said Chimera Fusion, and the first target you're going to want to go for is your Chimera King of Phantom Beast. So you're going to use 1 Beast monster and a Fiend monster. Now obviously this won't trigger as it's not technically discarded via a card effect, it's just sent to the graveyard as part of fusion material. But what it does allow you to do is you can trigger the Chimera effect, which means in the end phase you're going to loop your opponent for 1 card. So if you can complete the silver combo, you'll be able to loop them for everything, which is very, very nice. On top of that as well, because you control the Chimera King, you can actually add this back from the graveyard. Very nice. You've also got the graveyard effect, and you've also got the effect of the Mythical Claws. So if it's sent to the graveyard as a fusion material, you get to add an illusion monster from your deck to the hand. So we're going to be doing that with the Kotal in 2 seconds. And then, of course, we do have the ability of Rainbow, which will come back. What I mean by that is we'll be able to recycle the Genta in a second. So what you're going to do here is you're going to resolve this to deck Fin, and we're going to go for another Mirror Sword. So this can give you a follow-up for the next turn. We'll shuffle this up. Don't know why I'm shuffling this up, because we're just going to go, okay, cool, Rainbow, return this to the hand. Set the Chimera Fusion. You don't need to worry about it because like, you've got full control. You can actually keep this in your hand. So you're absolutely fine either way. Activate Genta. Genta is then, of course, going to search you out a second gate of the Dark World. There we go. Activate the second gate of the Dark World and shuffle up. There you go. So, let me just double check the Mythical Beasts. I don't believe, I'm definitely not locked into anything. Then we've got the negate effect of the Mirror Sword, which is really nice, and we've also got the non-target effect of the Kotal, which is also very, very nice. So we'll now activate Gate of the Dark World. We're going to banish one from the graveyard. So personally, I'm going to banish the, well, I can banish a Genta because then I've got another one to come back the next turn. It really is up to personal preference. And then we'll discard the Snow because it will give me any Dark World card that I want. So we'll draw one card, Broken. And then the Dark World card we are going to add will be basically a Dark World card that will allow us to discard. Now that I've got the Ceruli, it's kind of what you want, really. I mean, you kind of want Grapha as well, but let's go with Dark World Dealings in this version. Yes, of course, you are going to let your opponent draw a card, and they will refresh it, but your ideal play is you're trying to loop the entire hand. So we'll go with Dark World Dealings. Each player will draw a card and then discard a card. Why? Why did it have to be that way? Okay, let's discard the gold. We'll get some board presence going. We'll revive the gold. We'll then activate the second Dark World. I mean, this is risky because if I don't draw a Dark World and I attempt to discard the Ceruli, it's going to suck. So that'll do. Fine. Discard the Ceruli. Ceruli's effect goes to my opponent. Ceruli effect makes me, make sure I put it in front of an extra monster zone, makes me discard the silver. Silver goes to graveyard, summons itself back, rips my opponent's hand for 2. So my opponent now has exactly 2 cards left in their hand. Now what you're going to want to do here, I've definitely put these in the wrong position. So this one goes over here. Because then you're going to use gold and rainbow. And you're going to go into Kasich. Kasich would then return Ceruli to the hand. There you go, that one goes there. And then I can reloop the silver back to my hand here. So now all I need to do is get Ceruli to the graveyard, which I can do quite easily as well if I want to. And I know a lot of you are going to be like, well, how are you going to do that? Well, because I want to complete the hand rip and my opponent's only going to have 1 card to play with, we're going to use Akashic plus Rainbow. And we're going to go into the Muckracker. Muckracker's effect is then going to go off, so that will discard the Ceruli. And then we will revive one that is not Genta. And we're going to bring back Snow. This will then allow us to trigger Ceruli's effect. So Ceruli will now go to our opponent's board. Ceruli will then make me discard silver. Silver will then come back to the board, and that's going to rip 2 more cards from our opponent's hand. So in the end phase, they're going to lose their final card because of the Chimera King. And now, obviously, I can't use Muckracker as link material, but I do have the ability of going into any other fiend should I want to. Even with the hand like this, I can reloop a bit of resource by adding Snow back to the hand, and this will then allow me to bring back Rainbow. Now, ending my board like here, I'm going to set the Chimera Fusion, pass to my opponent. The end phase Chimera will rip the card from their hand. They now have no hand left. They will then top deck 1 card. Now, obviously, it's not as effective because I don't have access to the Grepher Fusion, because I don't have access to the Grepher. But what I now do have the ability for is, let's say that one monster, like, what could that 1 card be? If it's Dark Rule or no more, okay, my entire board's turned off, you can't do anything, Ceruli's not going to kill any of this. If it's, let's say, an Aluba, right? So Aluba's probably the most damaging thing that could possibly hit me. So they normal summon Aluba. Aluba's effect searches out Branded Fusion. I've not got anything here to exactly negate it, but I do have something in the graveyard that will let me negate it, and that is the Mirror Sword Knight. So when a monster your opponent controls activates this effect while you control Chimera, the flying mythical beast, quick effect, you banish this card from the field or graveyard, negate that effect. So the worst thing, in my opinion, that I can think of, like Lightning Storm, okay, it'll probably attempt to kill all of this. I can protect my fiends by getting rid of the Muckracker. But then they've already got a monster face on the field, so they can't use that. They can't use evenly. So the worst thing is a 1 card start that will search them something out, and that 1 card monster is going to get negated by the Mirror Sword Knight. So let's say they normal summon a Luba and we use the Mirror Knight, and you go, okay, cool. So now you've done that. I'm going to activate Chimera Fusion. My Chimera Fusion is going to allow me to use Mirror Sword Knight, so I've got a negate for the next turn. We'll use Rainbow and we'll use Silver to summon out Guardian Chimera. Guardian Chimera's effect will trigger to let me draw 1 and then pop the 2 cards, which is the Ceruli and the last monster that's left on the field. This then comes back to my turn as if I need to put any more on the board. Like straight away, that is 51 plus 13, which is 64 on the board. I can just very easily just go normal summon Snow, return Snow to the hand, and then summon out Rainbow. And that ignores the one draw I got off of Chimera anyway, and that's game. So that's pretty insane that it can build that up. And I think what was nice about this test stand is it allowed me to show you what the Chimera cards can actually, or the illusion cards, can add to the deck as well. Cool. All right, well now we'll go to do a second test stand going first again as well. And then we'll do two going second. So you'll see the build up of this deck and then you'll see the breakdown of this deck as well. So after another decent shuffle and a good old cut, our test stand going first will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wow, we definitely needed a card that will give us the ability to discard. So we've got direct route to the Gazelle, which is absolutely fine because we did need to get one of these to the graveyard. This is the risk and reward. Like if any of these was a danger, it's the same risk as if any of these was a direct discard effect. So we're going to normal summon Gazelle. Gazelle's effect will trigger. This will then allow us to get into Chimera Fusion. Now the best thing about this, if I don't want to loop my opponent's hand for 1, I can actually get into the Grapha Fusion if I can get a Dark Monster. So, big sad. But what we are going to be able to do is we're going to be able to activate the Chimera Fusion. I would personally put Beige in the graveyard. And we're going to use the Chimera Beast and we're going to go into Chimera King. Effective Beast will allow me to add a Kotal. And the reason I'm going to add the Kotal is that I can then discard this to add a Mirror Sword. Nice. Because I control Chimera the King, I can actually add back the Chimera Fusion. So I've regained my hand advantage. I can now activate Gate. Gate's effect will now banish the Beige in the graveyard and allow me to discard the Snow, draw a random card. Nice. Snow's effect will now trigger. This is going to allow me to search out any Dark World card I wish. Personally, what would we like to go for? That is the $1,000,000 question. Now, I've got the ability to use Archives if I want to. Archives can get me more draw, but doesn't give me exact presence on the board. I could very easily go for a Genta, and the Genta will then give me the ability to at least loop a bit of resource and get an additional draw. So it depends on how risky you want to take this. At the very base minimum, you've kind of got the ability to, with this, you'd get a Gate, you'd get a random draw, and then you'd get the Genta back to the hand and have the Grepher on the board. That's the very base minimum. Plus, you'll still have the target negate, and you'll also have the monster negate, just the target negate, sorry, at the moment, without Mirror Sword. But I can get the Mirror Sword to the graveyard off of the back of Cheerful Coffin, which is absolutely fine. Another way of doing this off of Snow is you can search out Rainbow. Rainbow can then give you a bit of advantage as well. You've also got the ability to go into Archive. So it depends if you want to go for the random draw or a controlled draw. Probably want to go with a controlled draw rather than the random draw. And what I mean by that is I can add Archives, activate Cheerful Coffin. Oh, it has to be the effect of a Dark World card. That's big sad. Maybe Cheerful Coffin doesn't work then. My bad. It'll still work to get the discards. So let's go for, I mean, Cerulean has no use to me. I guess we're sticking with the Genta. Activate the Genta. Search yourself out the second gate of the Dark World. And then you're just hoping and praying that the draw is going to be half decent. There we go. So obviously this is the flip side. Like if the Cheerful Coffin was a danger, then you're kind of in a better position. But that's just the change you make. Is what it is. Activate Gate. Gate's effect. Banish Genta from the graveyard. Discard Grepher. Draw a random card. No! Oh well. Chain link 1 Grepher. Chain link 2 Genta. Genta will come back to the hand. Then return Genta to the hand for your Grapha Dragon. It's a big, big shame on that one. Beast or Fiend. I mean, I still use Chimera Fusion actually to get into the Grepher, so I can set this, hold my board up like this. I could activate Cheerful Coffin if I want to, but you don't need to right now. During my opponent's turn, I can activate the Chimera Fusion using a Fiend, which will of course be the Grepher, and then we'll use Genta, which is our Dark. And this will then allow me to get into the Grepher Dragon. In doing so, obviously the end phase as well, my opponent will lose a card from their hand. It's not ideal, but it kind of is what it is. Now we want to basically negate something off the back of Grepher to put the Mirror Sword in the graveyard. We've then got the negate off of the Mirror Sword, and we've then got the negate of the target off of Kotal as well. So if they try to imperm either of these, you can protect with Kotal. And then if they try to activate a monster effect, you can negate with the Mirror Sword, and you've already negated with the Grepher Dragon as well. So again, not end all be all. Like, it could have been a lot better. There was still RNG factor in what do we draw off of gates. Do we use Cheerful Coffin or not? How early do we want to get into the Grepher Fusion? You name it. Like, this deck isn't the strongest version of the deck, in my opinion, but it is the best at minimizing RNG factors, which is what I was requested to do, and that's why I brought it to you. It's still very, very good. You just need to know what cards you play and how you want to play it, and which is why I really like the illusions in this deck, because I think it just adds another level of consistency, but also a bit of power and fallback as well. Okay, so we're going to shuffle this up, and we're now going to go second, starting with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, well, this is an interesting one. I mean, if going second and my opponent's got the droll, they've got the droll. Like, I can activate Drag Down, attempt to look at their hand, and then possibly run into it. But to do that, you then want to you'd want to set the darkworld dealings, and you'd want to set the second Drag Down, so that your options to let them discard is these. And the easiest choice on that one, in my opinion, would be the Genta, and you're just like, okay, cool, well, it's not going anywhere. So this one is a bit of a riskier hand, but we're going to roll in with it as the way we can do it. So you're going to go Genta. Genta is then going to search you out a gate. We've got instant rank 4, which is fine. So we're going to activate the gate. Gate's effect will then banish Genta and discard beige. Draw 1 card. Okay. Chainlink 1, beige, Chainlink 2, Genta. Doesn't make much of a difference on this one. This one comes back, and then beige will come back. So I've got instant access to overlay these into a Daguerreo's if I want to. I mean, I'm going to try and push for an OTK, so I'm not really too fussed about not having my next draw phase. So detach 2, draw 2, discard 1. Wow, okay. Discard Snow. Snow's effect will trigger. What could we possibly want? Probably want a Grepher, to be honest, just to kind of start picking the board apart a little bit. Oh. Chuck the Grepher around. Yeah, I mean, we're then going to be going into draw territory. So, I mean, the free drag down's pretty funny. So, okay. So what you want to do here is I'm going to go for more protection play. So I'm going to activate a session. A session is going to allow me to discard the Grepher and banish beige. There we go. This will then give me the Grepher Fusion. And then off the back of that, because I discarded the Grepher will then allow me to pop 1 card my opponent controls. I would then activate Darkworld Dealings, or draw and discard. Haven't conducted a normal yet, so that's pretty good to have. We will then discard the Drag Down. We will then normal summon the Gazelle. Gazelle's effect will trigger to add Chimera Fusion. There we go. Activate Chimera Fusion, or fuse. I mean, technically I could fuse the Daguerreo's if I wanted to. Depends if I want the board presence or not. I don't think it makes much of a difference. Actually, why not? Let's just use all 3. What am I thinking about? We'll use 1, 2, 3 for the Chimera Fusion and go into Guardian Chimera. Yo. Pop 2, attempt to draw 1 while also triggering Mythical Claws. So I'd probably go Training 1 Chimera, Training 2 Mythical Claws, because then I add what I could possibly draw, which is worth kind of not getting, basically. So we'll then add the Kotal. Shuffle this up. Chimera pops 2 more cards. I draw 1. I've still got the cards in hand to discard off of the Grepher, which is absolutely fine. Brow, nice. We'll then activate Kotal just to deck fin a little bit. Get into Mirror Knight. Because now I don't mind if they put that in the graveyard. Obviously, I don't have the negate for the card, but it's still okay. Now, I would set the Drag Down, activate a Drag Down, and then this is what my opponent's looking at. So it's like, do I give them an extra draw, or do I get rid of the Mirror Knight? You're going to get rid of the Mirror Knight. I'm going to draw a new card. Okay. We'll activate the Genta. The Genta will then allow me to search out the second gate, activate the gate, shuffle up, then use Gate's effect. We're going to banish... banishes Alamander, discard Brow, draw 1 card off of that, Brow's effect triggers, draw 1 more. Hey, that's pretty good. Activate Drag Down, look at my opponent's hand, they're now looking at this, so it's like, do they take the Ceruli and then I discard the Snow anyway and get more advantage, or do they just get rid of the Snow and give me the search straight away anyway? So I personally would get rid of the Snow, let me draw a card, Snow's effect will trigger to allow me to add. Keep in mind, we haven't actually activated the Accession Graveyard effect either. So we still have that to go off. So that being said, let's add kind of want a monster on the board. So let's go with Rainbow. I mean, this hand's actually pretty decent, even more so as well. So we'll activate the Accession discard effect. So Accession, wherever it may be. There we go. Add this back to our hand, discard the Ceruli. Ceruli's effect will trigger, go to our opponent's side of the board. Ceruli's effect will make me discard. Now, obviously, I could discard the Rainbow, which will give me a search and then a summon of a level 4. But I'm actually just going to get it to discard the gold. Because then gold will come back, pop 2 cards my opponent controls. So straight away, I'll pop 2 off Chimera, 1 off of the Greffa from the first Accession play, and then 2 more off of gold. So we'll get the Ceruli back to the grave. You can then return gold to the hand for Golefar, wherever he may be. There we go. Now, I've managed to clear off 5 of my opponent's monsters. I can now swing in for 3k, 33 and 35 on this one. And then if I absolutely have to, I can set the Accession so that during my opponent's turn, I can actually send the Rainbow and get a search. So you've got follow-up plays if you need it, but you probably shouldn't need it from that point on. Yeah, so that's entirely up to you. That was a bit of a weird hand. Like, we had all the discard spells, which, I mean, if you're looking at this deck and going, okay, well, where you get the spells is where I'd get the dangers. You don't want a whole hand of dangers, because like you kind of want one danger and then replace itself by drawing into another danger. So you're just constantly building up board presence is like the ideal scenario. Anyway, let's do the final test hand going second. So we'll start with, again, another decent cut. And the final draw of 6 being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What is this? I mean, it's not that bad, but it's not that great either. So we'll normal summon the Moon, the Mirror Knight. I keep calling it Moon Mirror Shield because I want to call it Moon Knight, but it's not. I don't know why I'm searching. We're going to use this effect. We're going to tag it out. We're going to go into the Gazelle. Da 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 da. There we go. Gazelle's effect will then trigger. Search me out, Chimera Fusion. And we've already opened a Greffa, so happy days. We're going to get a nice little negate off the back of that as well. There we go, Chimera Fusion. I could, if I wanted to, Chimera Fuse and go into a Guardian Chimera. So, really is up to you. Really is up to you. Depends on how much you want to burn. So, I'm going to activate Darkworld Dealings first just to get a bit of advantage. So, we'll draw 1 and discard 1. So, we'll discard the beige. Beige effect will then come back. So, you kind of need to either use a beast or... You definitely need to use the Gazelle. Because you need to use Gazelle and a Fiend monster to make the Chimera King. But if you're going to go for Guardian Chimera instead, then you can use whatever you want as long as you're using a Fiend or a Beast. So it's up to you where you want to take this one. Honestly, like you can very easily activate the Chimera Fusion. We'll use the 2 on the board, so the Gazelle plus that, and then we'll also use... Do I want to use another beige? I probably could use another beige. I've already used my normal summon, so it doesn't make much of a difference. Oh, sorry, it needs to be 3 monsters with different names. Whoa. That's fine. Greffa goes into Guardian Chimera. Guardian Chimera, pop 2, draw 1. I'll take that. What? Nice. Activate gates. Gate effect can trigger. So, what fiends we got? We got a beige. So we're going to banish a beige. We're going to discard a beige. We're going to draw a beige. No, but draw a brow. That's not bad. Beige effect will trigger, summon itself back. And then Greffa can return this to the hand. Nice. What have we got? Okay, so we've still got... No, we don't have to negate for that. I keep thinking this is Chimera, but it's not. It's completely different. We can then activate... we can set Dark Corridor technically and activate Drag Down. And then at least at this period, it's kind of putting your opponent in a bit of a position. But if we activate Corridor now, we can just go that little bit further. So I'm going to add... What do I want to add to discard? What have I got? I've got 1 gate. I've got 1 Greffa on board. Do I want the Snow Search or do I want something else? I mean, Ceruli doesn't really... Like, Ceruli gives me a 2 draws off the back of the brow. So if I was getting greedy, like, Ceruli can give me some double draws, which is pretty cool. So let's get greedy. Let's see how good our luck is, shall we? This is when you're going to reopen the RNG factor. And it's like, bro, you might as well just play dangers. So we'll add Ceruli, discard the Ceruli. Ceruli's effect will go to our opponent's side of the board, put it in front of the extra monster zone. Ceruli's effect will then make me discard brow, which becomes me draw 2. It's not bad. I can play all of these. I can then activate Drag Down, and my opponent's going to look at my hand and go, no matter what I choose, one of these is getting summoned to the board. So you're probably going to go with beige just because it's like the weakest one. So discard that, draw 1, beige effect trigger, summons itself back. Gate broken. Activate the second gate. I think the only thing I'm missing now is like a rainbow or another Greffer to loop these back. We'll activate Gate, we'll banish the Brow, we'll discard Silver because I'm not going to hand loop my opponent this turn, and we will draw one more card. Nice. Silver comes back to the board. We will then go Beige and Silver. Not Beige and Silver, sorry. What was it? Was it like that? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. That should go like that. And then use Beige and Greffer. Apologies. And you'll go into Akashic. Akashic will return Cerulli to the hand. Obviously, this is on the assumption that those zones are free. If those zones aren't free, then it plays a little bit differently. But even then, you still go, okay, cool, Greffer, add back Silver to the hand. You can then use Catalyzer. So Catalyzer will discard Cerulli. Cerulli will go to our opponent's board again. It will make us discard a card, so it will make us discard Gold. Gold will summon itself back, pop 2 more cards, so we'll get rid of Cerulli and whatever else. That now means that we've ended up popping 4 cards, 2 off Chimera, 2 off of Gold, which is why I still like this card. And then you've got the ability to kind of like link climb higher if you want to. You're not link locked into anything. So if your opponent's got another like annoying monster on the board, you can just go, okay, cool. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 being your opponent's monster. And that'll give you straight into the Underworld Goddess. Obviously, you've got Unicorn, you've got Appaloosa, you've got Saruja, you've got Zelantis. Any of those other ones if you wanted to. So that gives you another kind of build-up play. But at the very least, what you can do is you can go like this. And you go, okay, cool, I've got Graffa, I've got Chimera, and I've got Goddess going in pretty much for game. And these two will be buffed because they'll be buffed via gates. And that is it for the test hands. So I've given you a bit of an insight into what the deck can do. Like I said, it does play differently to the dangers. It's a little bit more controlled. It's not as consistent. Sometimes the RNG factor is not that bad because where an RNG factor could be negative, it can also be just as positive. It is just that roll of the dice gamble. It's the exact same thing with Drag Down to the Graves, a gamble, and so is Darkworld Dealings. It's all going to be a bit of a gamble. You just have a bit more control over at least getting something off of the back of it. Anyway, I hope this has been informative. I hope it's given you a bit of an insight into how the deck can operate the way it is. If it is something that you are like 100% against, I don't want to play any dangers whatsoever, this is the build I'd rather play. Now you know how it can work and operate. If you're like, which is the better version, this or Dangers? Dangers is always going to be the better one because of that unknown factor of will the Dangers resolve or won't they? They can cause your opponent just as many issues as you can. The only way you can make sure it's completely fair is always make sure your opponent rolls a dice to choose which one is chosen at random. And then there's no, oh, they knew it was that card because they watched the shuffle or anything like that. So, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. I will bring you the synchro version next as well. I have been working on that update. For now, as absolutely always, stay safe. And of course, happy dueling.